Hi, everybody. I'm Katie Yeakle. Welcome to today's Inside AWAI. We are talking about probably one of the questions we get asked the most, and that is, what is the easiest way to choose a copywriting niche and start attracting well-paying clients? We have Pam Foster to lead this discussion. She has lived it. She's a prime example of how to do this well. And she not only has done it, but she's a great teacher as well. So Pam, I'm going to get out of the way here. I'll be over in Q&A. Happy to answer any questions while the presentation's going. If I don't get to your questions, we will do our best to answer them at the end. But let's have a great webinar. Come on, Pam, let's start.
All righty. So I just want to reiterate that if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A and not the chat, because we want to be sure we see them, and we're looking at the Q&A part. All right. So yes, this is one of my favorite topics because it's a sense of how you can get your career started as a writer. And it's kind of hard to be a generalist and find clients that way, but when it comes to choosing a niche, people get stuck because there's so much to choose from. So our goals for today are, finally, you're going to choose your niche industry. And what I mean by that is choose something you can start with tomorrow. Doesn't have to be something you marry for the rest of your life, but at least you'll get some traction going, which is very exciting. We'll show you the #1 way to make it easy peasy and painless. That's what I call it. That's a technical term, easy peasy, because I want you to just not struggle anymore. So let's just figure this out together. And then once you do, once you decide, based on what we go over today, you'll then see 7 ways that you can bring that niche focus to life right away, as quickly as possible, so that you can get going. And then along the way, I'm going to show you some examples of who's done this with success, and we'll have time for questions at the end. So, yay, welcome to Niche Relief at last. I've talked about niche before, choosing a niche or a niche, if you're from Canada. But basically, there is another Inside AWAI presentation, and where you signed up for this on awaiionline.com, you will find that. And that's about going through a long process or a step-by-step process to look into niches and all that. But today, I highly recommend going there. Today is, okay, you've been looking into this subject for a while, and you're just struggling still to make a decision. And we understand that. We really, really do. We hear it a lot. We hear it probably every day, because it's a bit foreign to a lot of people thinking, well, if I choose one area, won't that limit me? And the answer is no, it's quite the opposite, because if you choose an area that is a good market, such as I did with the pet industry, it's full of companies, hundreds, thousands of companies, all kinds, business to consumer, business to business, which means, you know, companies that are selling products and services to other companies. Every niche has that, every good niche. So you never will be bored. You'll have all kinds of variety, and the best part of all is clients will find you, instead of you being in the sea of a gazillion other general copywriters. So that's fine, but you still struggle because you're not sure after your career and whatever you've been doing up to now, or whatever your interest is, you're not quite sure where you belong. You know, should you do financial? Should you do this and that? There also are, I see quite often on Facebook, especially in our different groups, that there are too many fun options. People look, I love health, but I love travel. I love basketball, but I also love eco-sustainable living. And so they're having struggle finding one that they can sink their teeth into and get going with. They also try to combine industries, like, can I have a website where I offer services to accountants and psychotherapists and basketball companies? And my answer is usually that's a tough way to go, because you're trying to, you know, be different things to different people all at the same time, which makes your job a lot harder. So let's banish these struggles right now, because I don't want you to be in struggle mode anymore. And I know what you're going through personally, because I've been there. So my quick story is I worked in corporate America for a really long time, and then I discovered AWAI, and I wanted to go out into the freelance world. And one of the big niche industries that AWAI talks about, because they definitely use direct response copy, is the financial world, financial publishers of newsletters, investment newsletters, that type of thing. So I thought, well, you know, I used to work in banking as one of my jobs in the past, so maybe I could go for that because that's where the money is. So I really gave it my best effort to position myself as a financial copywriter. And then I worked with the Oxford Club. I went to a retreat to, you know, go to a training session that they had because they really need great copywriters. So I'm thinking, all right, this is my in. And I went there and I worked on, you know, a campaign, and I tried to come up with a big idea for something. And by the end of it, I realized I don't like this at all. This is not for me. I have zero interest in this. I can't get excited about writing for it. It is not the real me. I'm trying to fit myself into a model that is somebody else's model. It's not me. So then I realized, well, there aren't a lot of professional web content writers out there yet. This was, you know, in the 2007, 2008. So I said, that's going to be my niche. I'm going to be a web content writer. Well, the only problem with that is that who am I marketing myself to? My web content writing is what I do, but the who was the problem. Who is the client? Every single company with a website? That's kind of impossible. How can I reach every single company with a website? So I had to have a V8 moment where I whacked myself in the head and said, duh, in the last 7 years I've been working in the veterinary industry. Why am I not there? I've been struggling for a couple of years. My client pipeline's been all over the place. I haven't been making traction. And finally, no more struggle. I finally went, why was I fighting this? I completely get it now. I should be a pet copywriter. So that's where my struggle ended. I knew who my market was. I knew how to market myself. I had an industry background there, and it suddenly became a no-brainer. And I fought it for so long, and then I realized nobody should have to struggle like this. So I'm going to help you hopefully get off the fence and really jump into something you can embrace. So your story, this is where we're trying to lead you to. The top of this pyramid, upside-down pyramid, and this is thanks to Barb, who's with us. And Barb, I might have you chime in if you raise your hand and want to say anything to add to this. But there's an overlap of the type of writing you want to offer. So if you want to be a web copywriter, you might write the top banner here, the top part of the pyramid, web writing. So I'm a web writer. That's what I do. But then you have to decide, who are you offering web services to? Like me, I couldn't reach anyone because everyone was a client, and I didn't have enough money to try to market myself to everyone. So that's where the industry comes in. So you're going to offer web writing or B2B writing or direct response copywriting or case study writing or any of those specialties at the top of the pyramid, and then you decide who is your client. It could be like me, I'm in the veterinary industry. There are so many strong industries out there. There's the sports industry. There's food and wine. There is construction and automotive and banking and insurance and medical. Oh my gosh, there are sections of medical, subsections of medical. There's travel, legal. Think of all the industries out there in the world and pick the one that works for you. I'll show you in a second how you do that. And then finally, you can add specialties as you go along. So if you're a web writer for the legal industry, your specialties might be online case studies or online campaigns where you start with an email and go to a landing page and have a free report. So that's your pyramid of your life as a copywriter. And you can embrace this very easily by understanding that the top one is your specialty, what do you offer, or your type of writing, I mean. Who is the second tier, that industry you are going to market yourself to and work with, and then any other specialties within that you offer that makes you stand out from other writers in that area. All right. So how do you put this in maybe a sentence for yourself, your elevator speech? If you're going to tell someone in your life that you meet, what is it you do? You would say, I write, fill in the copy, so web copy, B2B copy, email copy, whatever that is, direct response copy, for types of companies in the, and then pick a niche industry. An example here is I write B2B copy for mid-sized companies in the medical industry. Okay? So we're going to be recording this so that you can watch the replay, and don't worry about writing all this down right now. But I'm showing you how you can make sure that it becomes easy for you to explain who you are and who you serve. All right, so now we're going to take a deep breath and focus on the easiest way for you to make your choice today. I really hope you can do this today, because I don't want to. I want to help end your pain and your struggle, because I know it's real. So my advice is to start with what you know the most and like. And what I mean by that is, what do you know the most? What has your career been? If you've been in a career that you absolutely can't stand anymore, then that won't work. So we're going to look at what you know the most and like. So if you had a career you don't like, but you've also had a hobby or a passion or a pastime, such as a sports thing or a wine expert or something like that, well, that's something you know and you like. So whether it's your business career or a personal thing, I highly recommend just starting there. Start with that. Why this is so easy? Well, if you start with something you know the most, meaning in your life, what do you know the most? Like I know, obviously copywriting, I love it. I know the pet industry, I love it. But I also have hobbies that I love. Travel, I love travel. I love music. I love all kinds of things. So I could pick any one of those because I really know it. I feel comfortable with those niches. So you would have insider knowledge on something you pick out of that. You probably would already have industry contacts. You already know the market. You might be a prospect. You absolutely know about prospects in that market because you see what people are buying, talking about. You might be on a Facebook group where you're a super fan of something and you know what they talk about. Like if you're a sports fan or a wine enthusiast, or you're all about being a new mom. You know what those people are talking about, right? Your learning curve is dramatically shortened. Like I said, I tried financial copywriting. I had a very long learning curve in that. And I don't feel like I wasted time, but it was really hard for me to get into that because it wasn't a world I knew. So why go through that pain? Why not start with something you know? And then you can start promoting yourself today. You seriously can. If you go, oh my gosh, why have I been fighting this? I should be the copywriter for the equine industry because I actually ride horses and I know the horse world. I should just do this. Why am I fighting it? So you could start promoting yourself today if you choose one. Now, the other thing is you're looking for clients like we all are as copywriters. Well, when you are in their industry, they will value you. They'll be so happy to find you because you'll already be familiar with their industry. You know, you'll understand their market nuances, what's going on, what are the trends in the industry, what's the lingo. For example, in the veterinary world, I know that people who bring their pets to vet practices are called clients. They don't call them customers in the veterinary world. And when I'm writing about veterinary products, my clients love that I know that because I'm not writing stuff they have to keep correcting. And I already understand that whole sort of insider way of looking at things. So they're like, yay, no, don't have to teach her that. So they won't have to waste time teaching you about their industry. Now, on an off chance, a while back, a B2B agency reached out to me and wanted me to write for, get ready for this, it's exciting, I know, commercial dumpsters. I had to write a website about commercial dumpsters, and it was actually fascinating, but I didn't know anything about commercial dumpsters. Now, as a professional copywriter, you can quickly learn about anything, but when you're working in a certain niche industry that you know, you're going to be so much more efficient as well. You're not going to have to waste all your time learning a whole new industry. You'll be like, oh, I already know about equine or sports or banking, whatever you see as something that you know about. You already have that leverage that you can work from. Plus, the clients will see you as an ally, so you're one of them. You're in that realm. You know the trade associations. You know the players. You know, they see you as an ally versus just an order taker or just anyone who can write copy but may not know the industry. And this is instant relief for them. They are so excited. I've had people from my website reach out to me by phone or email and say, I'm so glad I found you. We were trying to find someone to work with us on a relaunch of our pet industry website. And it's such a joy to find someone in that industry. Ta-da! You can have that too. And then why it works anywhere. So I want you to think about what you know the most and like. And you'll think, well, yeah, but does that ring true for my industry? I mean, let's say you're in the business supply industry right now. You sell business supplies. You've been great at it for years, but you're sick of sales. You want to write copy. So you might be thinking, well, maybe I should go in the health industry. Hang on. Look at the business supply industry first because you know it, and I'm hoping you like it, and you've made a lot of contacts there. But think about this, too. Every major industry has websites that they need help with, other marketing efforts, you know, email, e-newsletters, ads, everything you can think of. Most industries, I can't think of any that actually don't have that. They also need copywriters, and they need content marketing services such as blog posts and articles and free reports and those types of things. Social media. Every industry has that, right? Pick any industry, you will see that they have these things. They'll have trade associations. Some of them will even have trade marketing associations, which is really cool. Like there's a medical device marketing association. And if you want to be writing for that world, how about hanging out with a bunch of medical device marketers? They're not going to all be copywriters, and they will need you, right? They all include business-to-consumer and business-to-business companies. So you might say, well, you know, I've been in retail for a long time, and I've sold products to, you know, retail products. How does that have business to business? Well, think about your store or the store. They have shelving. They have software that runs their cash register. They have signs. They have product. They have a break room with all those supplies and everything. They have everything that you need to run the bricks and mortar of your store. That's all business-to-business suppliers. So pretty much any industry will have that. And then guess what? Most good industries will have money. They have sponsorships and advertisers and trade show exhibitors and people who pump out content and ads and sponsorships all day long. So they're spending money, believe me. And I can just promise that if it's a good industry, now if it's something that's very, very small, or it is emerging, or it's mainly solopreneurs like massage therapists or social welfare people, or I'm trying to think of really small cottage, you know, people who make crafts at home. Those are going to be tough for you because they don't have big budgets. They're very small. Even the B2B industry side of it, the suppliers to them, might not be as robust as something else, like the main industries that you can think of. But hey, you could explore it. Possibly there is money there. I mean, I don't know. The craft supply industry might have an amazing B2B or supplier side. It's just that, you know, your clients won't be the individual craftspeople. They just really won't have big budgets. So now, the biggest benefit of just going with something you know and like right now is that it is the real you. Like I said, I tried to be something I'm not. I tried to be a financial copywriting whiz, and it's not for me. I tried to be Bob Bly. I tried to be Clayton Makepeace. All these famous writers that I admire so much. I try to be them, but I'm not them. I am me, And I bring all of my copywriting learning to what I can offer clients in my world. Okay? So that's what I want you to do, is be authentic to yourself. And it's not to say you can't someday go into this other world that you're excited about and want to learn, but if you're not there yet, start with what you know, because you can just do it tomorrow. You can start tomorrow with what you know while you go ahead and maybe learn all this other stuff. Like if you want to be a travel writer but you haven't traveled a lot, or it's a bit of a foreign concept, no pun intended, but you're also a long-time accounting manager or something like that, then go with what you know while you're learning travel, okay? You will stand apart from other copywriters because of your background. So I meet with people quite frequently who either online or in person at things like boot camp and other events, where they come up to me and say, one of my favorites was a military retiree who had worked in the Air Force for years, and she worked on aircraft, expert on aircraft. And she said, I just don't know where to even start for a niche in the private sector. And I kind of looked at her with a smile and I said, are there no aircraft in the private sector? Are there no airports and airplanes and airplane parts companies and things like that? And she just went, oh my gosh. She already had a niche that was beautiful for her, but she couldn't see it because she was so close to, having left the military world. So these are the kinds of things. I see it every day in Facebook. People say something like, well, I have 15 years of experience in the health world, and I really like health, but really, how do I pick my niche? And I smile because it's like, it's right there in front of you. It's there. Go for it. Start tomorrow. Do it. You have it. You have that knowledge. Go for it. So that's what I encourage you to do, because, again, you'll get discovered more by clients. Here's a secret. Clients, when they look for copywriters, will most often type in their industry. So for me, they want to find a pet copywriter or a veterinary copywriter. For someone else, it might be, I want to find a copywriter for law firms. So, and when you look at job sites that they're definitely putting in, we prefer someone with experience in our industry. So you'll get discovered more often by clients and appreciated more often. Now, we're all proponents of you can change later. Nothing is wasted here. But if you pick one and get going instead of worrying about it, you can start now, have more opportunity and more income with less hassle and fewer struggles. It's as simple as that. It really is. And I don't want to see you wringing your hands and going, I don't know which to pick, because there's something that's right in front of you. You just have to embrace it. So how do you do that? How do you start with what you know the most? Really, what can you do to make it feel like you're ready? Well, start with your career and the jobs you've had in the past. You want to look at any past jobs you've had, skills and knowledge that you've gained, training and certifications. Let's say you're an IT software person and you've been certified in certain programs. You maybe are a member of an association in that industry. For example, let's just take human resources. You've worked your whole life in human resources, hiring people, all of that. You belong to a human resources association, a national one. They have conferences, they have events, they have a website, they have lots of training, they have a journal. Hey, guess what? All of that needs copywriting. And who's the perfect person for that? You, because you're in that industry. And by the way, you've also made a ton of contacts in your career. So think about that first. Now, again, as I mentioned, you don't have to stick with what you've done in your career. You just don't have to if you'd rather not. So look at also what other things you're interested in. What are your hobbies and interests? What are pursuits that you enjoy? Crafts. I mentioned crafts, and it might be worthwhile looking into the suppliers to craftspeople and artisans. You also might be a weather chaser. Well, guess what? There's a weather industry. How about dance or historic events? What if you're a history buff? Boating, craft beer, baseball. Just think about the different things that you are passionate about and involved with because, again, you will have acquired skills and knowledge. You will have maybe acquired training and certifications depending on what your interest is. You may belong to an association. My brother was here in Raleigh a few weeks ago for a International Bluegrass Association conference and festival. He was there for the business-to-business side. They were selling instruments and all kinds of things, radio shows, and I can't even think, but we walked to this huge trade show all about bluegrass, believe it or not. Bluegrass musician, that's pretty narrow. That's not just music, that's bluegrass music. And he was involved with the association that put on this big event, so he was, on the job. They were doing conference training sessions all day long on marketing yourself or other things like that. So that was the business side, and then, of course, they had a street festival with music going on that was a blast, and that was for the public. But they had to promote all of that, right? Who did that? Well, my brother and his team, because they know that world. Again, you'll make contacts, of course, when you're really involved in something. Then third, I have your current lifestyle. So it might not be so much hobby type of thing, but, what's going on in your life right now? Are you a new mom? Are you someone who overcame a health struggle? Are you caring for aging parents? Are you into living in a tiny home? Are you part of that whole tiny home world that's been growing? Do you live a 100% organic life? Do you believe in that? Are you living the RV lifestyle, traveling around the country? Are you a survivalist and a prepper? There are all these things that your lifestyle could be used as, again, a niche that you focus on because you have skills and knowledge. You're learning all the time, especially if you're a new mom, and you're learning what these different groups need and look for solutions online. What kind of companies solve those problems? And then associations, there might be associations you belong to, and of course there are contacts. So just think about what you know and like. It all ties back to that. There could be an exciting market there for you. And like I said, most industries have a market for you. You don't need many clients. You only need maybe, 10 clients a year, or not even that many, to have a really great ongoing income and pipeline of projects. So if you can find an industry that you know and like, and you have, 1,000 companies out there, you're like, okay, well, I only need 10, or not even 10. So you should be in good shape. And then you want to make sure it's focused, and you're focused, and it's a promising area for you. So it's one strong industry, like here. This is a great example of where if you're struggling to combine two, there actually might be niches that do combine the two. So my example here is travel and medical. Medical Tourism Association. They have sponsors and ads all over this website. Those are advertisers. Those are people who are spending money on the specific niche of medical tourism, combining travel and people looking for medical facilities and medical help, medical associations, medical whatever, everywhere. And that could be a niche. Another one might be eco and home decor. So home decor that's all about organic and natural products, and using paints that don't have fumes in them, and all those products out there in the eco home decor world. That's where you can combine two interests. If you do have two interests that are very strong and you've been fighting yourself on them, go and see if there is a combination out there. You can look on Google and just see. You can look for trade association online. Like I just typed in, I think, travel, medical in Google association, and this is what I came up with in the results. So you can also see if there's a journal or a website. There are sponsors. There's big annual trade shows, conferences. Online ads will give you a clue at the very top of your Google results. So it's easy to see very quickly if an industry is going to work for you. And in the other Inside AWAI that we did on niches, we walked through much more in detail on how to investigate those things. But Google is your friend. Just go and say, well, gosh, I've been I've been a fitness instructor for years, and now I want to write copy. Well, let's see if there's a fitness association. Sure there is. There's many of them. Okay? So, I hope you're excited. I hope you are getting some light bulbs turning on in your brain, going, man, oh, man, I've been a flooring installer and a flooring store salesperson for years. Is there a niche in the flooring industry? Yes. And just keep thinking that way. What have you been doing in your life? Is there a niche in it? And I'm sure there will be. And so I invite you to declare today, you don't have to do it right this second, but maybe by midnight, or maybe this, it's maybe over the weekend, the niche industry I know the most and like is, ta-da, that's your niche. Just start with it. Don't worry about next year. Just start with it tomorrow so you can start getting clients and start getting projects and getting that momentum going. This is what we're trying to help you do today. All right, so I'm going to assume you've picked something, or you will pick something by the end of the day. Let's celebrate that, because you now have broken that cycle of analysis paralysis, of pulling your hair out, wringing your hands, worrying, staying up at night, not getting anywhere yet because you're waiting to figure it out. You're like, I know I need a website. I know I need to get going, but I can't choose. Well, now you've chosen. So let's do a woohoo to yourself. Get up and, woohoo! Because now you know who you can market to. Now you know your market. Who are you going to market yourself to? Easy. I figured it out. I'm marketing myself to the flooring world, or, whatever it is I chose. That's so much easier. Ah, what a relief. Okay, so we've celebrated. We spent half an hour together figuring this out. Finally, you have a clue, or you have a decision, or you have an exciting target for yourself. Now let's quickly go over 7 ways to bring that to life so you can start attracting clients. The first one is you want to write a bodacious bio about yourself. Now, this isn't, of course, about you, all about you. It's going to be about what you offer clients in a unique way that nobody else can because of your background in that niche. So just write down, what's your experience in that industry? Let's go back to the medical world. Let's see, I've been a nurse for 24 years. And I really love nursing. I love helping people feel better. I love making a difference. Okay, take all of that and now think about how you can take that background and help companies that are offering medical solutions or supplies or websites, and what you would bring to the table because you have that perspective. Then, like any insights, that kind of goes with that. Activities you've done. What kinds of things have you done in your background that will really wow clients because they're so relevant to what the clients need? What do you read? What do you watch? What is your lifestyle related to the niche you've chosen and what clients will be happy to see about you? Okay, so that's number 1. And then you're going to turn this into reasons to hire you. So your official bio on your website will not be just about me, but it'll be about why you will want to hire me. And you also want to put this as your wow summary at the top of your LinkedIn profile. It's just great proof and credibility everywhere. People will see you as the real deal. So here's an example I love. This is David Toman, and I first met him a few years ago at boot camp. He was a guy who was changing careers, and he'd been in the boating industry, and he thought maybe I should write about the boating industry. But he'd also been through some health issues, and he's very open about it, so I know he won't mind me showing you this. But he actually tells me that he healed himself after going to all kinds of medical professionals and not getting anywhere. He finally started trying alternative therapies and natural therapies. And I think a couple years ago, he stood up at boot camp and said, I healed myself because of my dogged determination to get to the bottom of something that could help me. I found alternative medicine, and now I write for them. Hey, who would know better to write for that world than this person who's been through that path of frustration and hope and disappointment and then finally relief? So now he put that into his bio. How David Toman gives you an unfair advantage as your natural health copywriter. He talks about his story. but it's not talking all about him. It's talking about how his experience will bring a client's marketing message to life. Wonderful. Number 2, create your unique brand. So once you know who you're marketing to, boy, you can go, hello, I'm going to write for this industry, and I'm going to put my stake in the ground, and I'm going to be a pet copywriter. So that's what I did, and now I can say I write web copy for mid-sized companies in the pet industry. I created a logo. I've got a tagline over on the right, web SEO content and consulting. By the way, web copywriting was the part that is my top tier in that upside-down pyramid. Web copy. Who? Pet industry marketers. Okay? Specialties, SEO, other things like that. But it's so easy to just start promoting yourself all of a sudden when you have that clarity. It's really fun. Here are some of the other examples. So this is fun. Motorcycle writer for hire. Motorcycle writing that appeals to women as well as men. Her tagline is, women love motorcycles too. Isn't that cool? I love that. Then we have on the right, great green content. Content and copywriting for green businesses. Very clear, very focused, and that writer's probably having a blast. Then the bottom one is the real estate writer. Your vision, my words, your success, the industry standard for real estate copywriting that converts. Okay? You can do this. It's not hard. It's actually once you pick an area, you go, boom, I can totally do this. It becomes easy. Then you want to optimize your website. If you already have a website, or if you're just creating one, you want to make sure you're very clear on what you offer, which industry, and why choose you. So Elizabeth Blessing, who is an awesome AWAI success story, she is specializing in long-form sales promotions for who? Financial and health markets. Now, long-form sales promotions is a very specific type of copywriting. And so anybody in the financial world or the health world who is more prone to doing long-form sales copy will be excited to meet Elizabeth. She's completely in their lane. Here's another example. Jen Williamson, she offers fun, fearless copy and content for software companies. So what does she offer? Copy and content for who? Software companies. That's everything she's about on this webpage. Very clear, no question, who her market is, and she's having a blast because she understands it. And guess what? Software marketers couldn't be happier to find her. Then number 4, you want to profile yourself on LinkedIn in the exact same way. You want to clearly convey, because LinkedIn is a search engine as well, believe it or not. People who are looking for a copywriter in a certain industry will absolutely use LinkedIn to see who they can find, because that's where business people find business people. So in your profile, here's Lisa Christoffel. She writes she's a direct marketing professional and copywriter. So she writes direct marketing copy, right? Now who is her group? Education, training, and services industry companies. She's a training company copywriter. Her whole background is in training and customer service. She used to run call centers. She's the perfect person to help other companies in that world promote to their market. Okay? So you do that on LinkedIn. And here's Les Worley. He came from software writing background. He was a writer of programming and software. Now he's a high-tech B2B copywriter for software and technology. Very clear. There's no question what this man does, right? So it's such a relief to clients in that world when they find someone like this who's one of them. I mean, like they're just, oh my gosh, this writer's already going to get what we do. I don't have to go through the pain of trying to get them on board. Okay, number 5, reach out to your contacts. Remember that I said when you're in a certain industry and you have some background, even if it's a hobby or interest or lifestyle, you've developed some contacts, right? So think about your closest connections. Who did you just work with who you have just your best friends for life, even though you don't work together anymore, but they're still in the industry that you're writing for? Who are people that you met in training or at boot camps or anything like that? Let them know what you're doing. Email them a personal message and say, hey, I know that I used to sell flooring and, wood flooring and tile flooring and carpet flooring and all that good stuff, and that we used to be together in the association meetings. Well, I've shifted over to copywriting for that market, and I just wanted to let you know because you might need me or you might know some colleagues who could use a good copywriter. Ta-da! If they're your friends or your connections, they're going to be excited for you, and they will absolutely be thinking about referrals for you. That's the best thing of all, is to reach out to people you know who already love you, right? Now, the next step after that is to connect with people you already have contacted in LinkedIn or already are connected with. So all kinds of colleagues from your life, even college friends or anybody, you want to reach out on LinkedIn and let them know what you're doing. It's a beautiful thing. Now, LinkedIn helps you do this. So if you used to work for a hospital, let's say, and you put that in your profile, they will show you people you may know who are other staff members of the hospital or former staff members because they are on LinkedIn. They used to work where you did. You can connect with them and then say, hey, by the way, I'm doing copywriting now, or I'm writing websites. And they'll be like, wow, that's so cool. And you start working that network that way. It's a lot easier to network with people you know first and then work on people you don't know. Number 6 is join the best association in your niche. Find trade associations or trade organizations. Just Google them. Google trade conferences. Again, I work in the veterinary industry. There are 4 or 5 big conferences every year all over the country, and thousands and thousands of people go to those. And you want to look, when you look on those association websites, look for who sponsors them. There are advertisers usually on the website itself. Who are the exhibitors at the upcoming trade show? Do they have a blog? They might need copy themselves. The association might. And I have an example here of the National Association of Landscape Professionals. If you are a landscaper or have been, or you love gardening and you might even be a master gardener as a hobby, is this the association for you? Heck yeah, this is great. They're going to have a conference on, coming up. I can't read it, it's too small. But they have a big conference coming up, Landscapes 2017, the premier education and networking experience. Hello, that's a beautiful place to be if you're in landscaping and gardening. And then exhibitors. So here's an expo for the green industry, an equipment expo. And they have 850 exhibits. And they just gave all these client names to you on their website. Wowza, right? Check it out. You've got 850 potential clients right there on their website under the exhibitor tab. Beautiful. Now, finally, you will want to build a reputation. So you've chosen your niche. You're all about that niche. You've done all the first 6 steps. Now you build on that. And it doesn't take long. You can comment on LinkedIn posts. You can start your own industry marketing blog. I actually have a pet marketing blog on my petcopywriter.com website. You can write for a trade website. You can attend local events like the Chamber Business Expos. You can go to national conferences. Get your name out there in every way you possibly can think of, and it's so much easier when you're focused on one niche. So, for example, I write for a veterinary blog, and it is a very interesting blog. It's for salespeople in the industry. So I write about sales techniques in the industry because I know that world. It's easy for me. Okay, so I hope that this has been helpful. I really, really do. I have not been able to look at any of the questions yet. If you do want to speed this along or dig deeper, we have that free Inside AWAI I already talked about on how to investigate a niche. It's more in depth on that. You could also look at one of our programs. One is called How to Choose Your Writing Niche, and that will be a live link in the replay video, or How to Build Your Website in 4 days, so that you can make sure you're building in that niche focus. So I'm going to take a breath, and I would love to know what questions we may have that haven't already been answered, or if you saved any for me. I bet you did.
Okay. Hi, Pam. Well,
Hi.
No, we've been very busy. Great questions. And, you know, one thing I want to stress here is for people not to be stressed. And while it is going to be a relief when you decide on a niche to pursue, it may not happen today. My advice is to listen to this actually a couple times. The recording's going to be available. You can go back and listen to it, and let it simmer. Let these things, because when you put pressure on yourself, like I have to do it now, it makes it more difficult. But I bet, you know, maybe it's going to be in the shower. Maybe it's when you're going to be on a walk. It's like, oh, I get it now. This is what I can follow. And just the other thing, just to reiterate what Pam said, this doesn't mean you're married to it for life. And you can always change directions. It's just always so much easier to attain a goal when you have a map to follow. And there's going to be learning along the way. You're going to be tweaking and fine-tuning as you go, as you get feedback on your journey. So this isn't like a one and done, or it's a work in progress. Just like the skills you're learning are always work in progress, everything that you're doing is a work in progress. So I just wanted to state that. And Pam, a lot of people are asking questions about their specific experience.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, some people say, well, I'm a fiction writer, or I'm a electrician, or I'm a homemaker and I've never had a job. Can you speak broadly to those people where the niche isn't quite so obvious? I know that's what you've done for this past hour, but again, just for people that think that maybe they're not nicheable, what would you say?
Well, I guess Google can really be astounding. Like, let's say the homemaker one. As you've been a homemaker, I'm sure there are a number of skills and strengths that you have used in your life to raise your kids or deal with issues that happen at home even, like juggling, having contractors come to your house, or whatever has happened in your life. Maybe you've been involved in your kids' school. I don't know. But there are things that you've done in your life that you're not alone, and there are lots of other people from that world too, and you can look at those as potential niches. So I think there's a work-at-home mom website. Holly Hanna has a work-at-home mom, and her website, she developed her website out of being a mom who wanted to work from home, and that was her whole thing. So you can definitely find your tribe or your world based on anything you've done in your life. The electrician, oh my gosh, is there an electrician world? My son is becoming a master plumber. You bet there's a whole plumbing world. There's a plumbing association. There are plumbing training programs. There are plumbing contractor websites. I just think
it's really wherever. Yeah. You know, if you follow the money, you know, if you follow where commerce happens,
right,
that's where copywriting is needed. Wherever ideas, products, services are being bought and sold, there's somebody writing copy to make that happen. Wherever there are discussions, wherever there is information that people are willing to pay for, it's copy that's doing that. So, you know, maybe take a little bit higher view of it and really follow the money. I think that's a great way to do it. You know, we're getting quite a few comments up in the chat box. I do have that open, but for future reference, if you're on our webinars, we do prefer that the questions go in the Q&A box, which is below, just because the chat we try to keep for technical, any problems or that. But I see Linda's, you know, she's a writer-photographer. The same advice applies. There's, for a local newspaper, there are journalism organizations, there are local paper associations, there's plenty of photographers, there's plenty of writers. You know, what is the spin that you can put on this to make it your own niche? What do you bring to this conversation that is going to show that you have a fresh perspective that answers a question that any industry is having that solves a problem. Really think in terms, in those kind of terms, and I think you'll find it in front of you. And it's another thing where it's like almost 6 degrees of separation as well, too. You know, start here and then see where this takes you, and then that takes you, and then that takes you.
Well, one other thing, too, that I like to do for fun is if you have a hobby or an interest like photography, look at what you have bought. What have you bought to become a photographer? You bought equipment. Maybe you bought training courses. You know, how did you find them? Well, you probably found their website because someone wrote the copy that brought you there. So, you know, I look around my desk and I look at office supplies. I have a file cabinet. You know, anything you have around you in your world, you purchase things. And where did those things come from? And all of those, you know, product manufacturers or software providers or whatever it is you bought, those are companies in your world that you could probably write for. And that's where that online search is so much fun. I mean, start with associations, no matter what it is, electrical or the homemaking one might be trickier. You might need to find something in your experience that you had a lot of fun with, and that might be something there. But, you know,
okay, we are, the questions are coming in, so I do want to try to get through. So Dan's asking a great question. How much knowledge of general marketing principles do we need? I mean, if I find a niche and approach them with only one facet of marketing, will that hamper my ability to get clients? For instance, if they bring up SEO and I have no idea. Oh, I love that question. How about you?
I love that question.
Well, if you, first of all, don't worry. Just get the client. Get the client and then call us and we'll help you out. We have programs on anything that you could be asked to do, and you will not be the first person to say, oh my God, they just asked me to write a case study and I don't know how to do it. You know, that's one part of it. But basically, you're not expected to know all marketing principles. You're not expected to come in and run marketing campaigns per se. What you need to know are the fundamentals of good persuasive writing and how they apply to different types of assignments. And that's what you are learning from AWAI, and with that should give you the confidence to move forward. But Pam, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, yeah, like for example, I started out as a web copywriter, but I did get asked to do some different things that I hadn't really learned yet, like PPC campaigns. Can you handle our online paid ads? And frankly, I didn't know how, and I wasn't too excited to do it, but I would never turn work away. So what I did was say, well, I can bring in someone who's an expert at that, and then we'll work together. Or, you know, you can do something like that, bring in an ally. Or you can go to the AWAI catalog and say, oh my gosh, they just asked me to do white papers. I don't know how, but I know AWAI has it. So bing, there it is. I'm going to learn it over the weekend. I'm now able to do that. So you have control here. You don't panic. Don't panic.
You know, we're getting quite a few questions about B2B and web and what's the difference. B2B is writing for the business-to-business industry. That's sales copy that is used by businesses to sell to other businesses. It generally is more direct, it's more straightforward, it's not necessarily as long. A lot of times it's sales collateral, it's informational pieces, it's materials that salesmen need to be able to do their job, brochures, that type of thing. Web copywriting, you know, personally, any kind of writing that you do right now, you're a web copywriter basically, because, you know, pretty much every piece of copy is used on the web in some way. You know, if you want to specialize as a web copywriter, it may be that you specialize in writing landing pages, which are companies' home pages, the pages that should get you and all the pages that go along with that. Or it could be specific email series that are delivered by web, or it could be specific other elements that are only web. But honestly, I think anybody that does any kind of sales copywriting is a web copywriter as well. Pam, you may feel a little bit differently about that as well.
No, I agree with you. There are differences in writing for the web than writing print or mail. But what I'd like to direct you to our website later when you have a chance. Just go to AWAIonline.com, and the very first tab on the left is called Writing Paths. And you'll see a drop-down that talks about copywriting, web writing, B2B writing, publishing, travel writing. You can look into those and understand a lot better what they are in your own time. And then also we are about to launch a really comprehensive glossary that will go over a lot of these terms. We're not quite ready yet because we were putting some finishing touches on it, but that will be on our website soon as well under the free resources.
Yeah, that's going to be wonderful. People are really going to, I think that's going to answer a lot of these kind of questions. Diane's asking to define PPC. PPC stands for pay per click, and it's the type of ads that you see on Google or Facebook. You click on them and it takes you to another page where maybe you get a free report or you sign up for something or a full sales campaign. It's called that because the company only pays for it if somebody clicks on the actual ad. How do you write if you have no business experience? Well, Pam, what would you say about that?
If you have no business experience, I think what you need to just learn is copywriting. And as we teach copywriting, we're teaching business marketing, basically. So if you learn the fundamentals of copywriting, it's kind of baked in. You know, if they say they need to get customers for a specific product they offer, you're going to work with them to make sure that they have copy that does that. And they can worry about the business side of the business. You worry about the bringing customers in. And they're usually pretty good with that.
That's a great answer. Dorothy wants to know, would saying I specialize in emails, blogs, and articles be too limiting, such as is web writing quite a necessary service?
Well,
I don't think so, but what do you think, Pam?
I think that when you land a client, you want to think about what they usually are looking for first. And I would say that in the past couple of years, the clients who've reached out to me in the pet industry have been looking for their website to be updated because it's just not doing as well as it used to. And so that's web content. And then they need a blog or article stream because content marketing's become so popular, they need to be in the game. They need to have fresh content and useful, helpful content going out all the time. Those are number 1 and 2 top requests I've had over the years. Now, it doesn't mean you can't offer email or other types of writing, but you almost want to be meet the client where their first need is in your world. Now, so I wouldn't say I only offer these 3 types of content. I'd be a bit broader. I might even just say I'm a copywriter and say my specialties are this, this, and this, but I can write other things too, because you never know what a client needs first, and you don't want to cut them off before they even talk to you because you say I only write email campaigns, and they don't need an email campaign right now.
Good. Mark is asking, do you build a website before you develop skills or wait until you complete learning?
Yes.
You can take that one.
My answer is yes. No.
Yes.
I think, if you choose a niche and you're working on being a copywriter and you've got any experience under your belt at all writing anything, you should get going. Just put your stake in the ground and say, I can do this. And a lot of people get started to collect samples or more experience by reaching out to a local company. Now, let's say you are a sports nut and you go quite frequently to the local sporting goods store, and they're independent, they're not a chain, and you've become friends with the owner. You might say to him, I'm studying web copywriting. I'd love to try and work on a couple of your pages. Would you allow me to do that in trade for a testimonial and a sample? And I know several copywriters who've done this. I know someone who wrote in trade for their fitness company, their local fitness studio. And they got some traction going, and it was a great way to kind of dip your toe in and then keep going if you're really brand new to this.
Good. Oh, I'm going to, Anna's asking, can you talk about political writing? And, you know, my response is that is a huge niche. You know, copy is their lifeblood. That's how they get donations. That's how they get their messages out. That's how they get their candidates announced. You could go local. You could pick a candidate and approach them if there's somebody that you feel passionately about. If there's a cause, you could pick that as well. I would just make your case as to why you feel so passionately about this. Let them know what you're available to do. We're actually we have boot camp coming up next week, and we have Richard Viggory speaking, and he is actually the godfather of political fundraising. He started it like in the 60s or maybe 70s, but we're going to learn a lot about that at boot camp. But I would absolutely say there's huge niche potentials within political writing. Wouldn't you agree, Pam?
Yeah. I actually don't know much about that world, but when you just think about political campaigns every couple of years, whether it's a state or national, just think of the advertising you see. And that's just for starters, because if someone's a registered party affiliate, either Democrat or Republican, they get direct mail and emails from candidates who want them to come to a meet and greet, and it's just sort of endless. So I think it's huge. Great.
Let's see. Tia's asking, what courses do I need to have completed before? You know, you don't have to have any. I would certainly recommend you finish the accelerated copywriting program. That's the foundation for any type of writing you'll ever want to do. And then if you wanted to move into health or financial or self-help or any of those others, it's always best to get additional training to become more of an expert in that area. But, you know, as soon as you feel ready, you should get started. You know, the only test you're going to get is your writing. And I do think it's important that the first contacts show that you understand how persuasive writing works. It'd be an example of the type of writing that you do, and that it'd be very professional. So, you know, especially if you want to start local with smaller businesses, you know, they're not going to ask for verification or proof. The proof is going to be in the pudding, as they say. But if it were me, I would want to have as strong a foundation as I possibly could before I get started. Somebody I lost this question, but was asking, what's the difference between the accelerated program and boot camp? Oh, Darcy, would you suggest one or the other between the accelerated program and boot camp? Well, you know, they are just so different, and they're such different experiences. Like I said, the accelerated copywriting program gives you the foundation. It's a lot. It takes you from how to even get started before you even start to type anything, all the work you need to do, all the preparation, all the research, all the way through how you actually structure a complete sales letter, through all the way through how you then go out and find clients. I mean, it's the whole enchilada. Boot camp is our copywriting world on steroids for 3.5 days. It's the best of the best speakers giving you their best tips and insight. It's mega networking. It's being immersed in this world with 400 people who are as passionate or as hopeful or as excited about this writer's life. It's meeting people who are just starting out to all the way very, very, very successful. So you really can't compare the two, but boot camp is happening next week. So and it is sold out, but, you know, you're welcome. We'd love for you to join us virtually if that's an option. But, and boot camp is definitely something every copywriter should experience at some point in their career. So that's my answer there. I don't know, Pam, if you have anything to add to that one.
No, I think that's great, and I've been typing and answering other questions too. We have an interesting one here. I worked in B2B tech company for 8 years. However, my interest is in the alternative health market. What would you recommend? Should I choose this niche as my starting point? I don't have any experience in the health industry, but I like it a lot. My advice would be, if you have pursued alternative health for your own personal needs, then you do have experience in that industry as a customer. So that, you know, if you're interested in it, you read about it, you buy the magazines, you're excited about that world, then sure, give it a shot. And by the way, there is alternative health B2B. There are companies that supply software and other kinds of services to the alternative health market, so that might be something cool that you could look into as well. And you know, if your heart is set on something and you are interested in it a lot, then there's something to be said for that. I mean, my example about trying to do financial just because that's where the money is means that it was really not a great thing for me. But if I had tried to do financial and I really did follow the stock markets a lot, like daily, and watch all the financial shows, and I was really interested but I hadn't written there yet, then it would have worked, or it would have been a better decision. So I follow your heart. Follow, you know, where you want to go. If you're trying to shove yourself into something you don't want to go in, like B2B tech anymore, then that's not going to be fun. So sure, I think you could do it, depending on what your, you know, experience is with alternative health.
Okay, we're still getting questions up in chat. So I want to encourage you. I don't want to miss anybody, but I see Victor's asking, do you ever meet clients in person, or is your work all completed through the internet? You know, it varies. Most of the writers that I work with, it's via the internet. Again, it all depends on if you're doing local or, you know, more national or even international. You certainly don't need to meet in person. It's always nice when you can, just to have that face-to-face, but it's not expected, it's not required. And I would say, for AWAI as a whole, I would say 90, we have 2 in-house writers, but I would say 95% of our writers work remotely, and it's all internet-based.
I'm just answering a question and typing, but I realize I want to answer it out loud. So somebody's asking, I've worked in retail and I have customer service experience. How can I use that for my copywriting business? I said, well, you can write for the retail industry or the customer service industry. There are journals and associations that are focused on that, trends in retail marketing and all that stuff. They need help. Also, you could write for companies, other retail companies in the industry you worked in. So a couple years ago, I did a niche presentation where I went on simplyhired.com and I looked for trends, different industries that are hiring copywriters. And man, oh man, the retail world, all the big retailers, anyone you can name, and then smaller ones too, we're all looking for copywriters for their websites, their email marketing. So you could do that.
Absolutely, and there's also the whole world of training retail people, and that whole world. Again, follow the money. Just think about all the commerce that happens in any of these niches. You know, I don't know that we're going to be able to hit everybody's niche, and basically it's going to be the same answer. You know, we'll have somebody asking about military. Do they write their own copy? I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know either.
I'm sure they have some, but my guess would be that they would hire outside writers as well, and I'm sure if you're a veteran or have any experience there, that would be a huge plus, but I can't imagine that it would only be within the military. You know, volunteerism, is it you know, it's a niche, but you could certainly go broader, I mean, go narrower. You know, I just don't want to leave any out, but it really is the same question for any specific industry that you're asking about. There are niches available to you in that. Ricky is asking for a sample page on our copy website. I now have many spec assignments, but wonder what is the best way to post them. The categories block. Or another way. You know, Ricky, I would look at some sample websites of how other copywriters do it just to get an idea. I would just try to do it in a, your goal is to make it as easy for whoever's looking at it to get whatever benefit out of it that they need to get. So I just would be logical, I'd be easy, and you want to think of the user experience. So, you know, I honestly can't tell you, but yeah, if there is a way to categorize things that makes a potential client, would make it easier for a potential client, then I would do it that way. And she's also asking, do you need permission from a client to post a sample? If it's something that they have mailed, yes, that is the best practice. I would do that. If it's a spec that you've written for them, you know, I would, and it hasn't been mailed, you don't ever want to imply that it has been approved by the company or that they've used it. So while you can include specs, you need to make it clear that this was a spec, or, you know, or take the company name out, or something, so that there isn't you aren't given the impression that a company paid you or mailed it if they didn't.
Yeah, and I would even echo that. You want to, as a courtesy, ask permission, and most clients will be perfectly fine with it, but once in a while you find a client who's had a struggle against a competitor for quite a while, and they just don't want their awesome, shiny, new, excellent stuff out there so the competitor can, you know, see that so easily. I mean, they could on their website, I guess. The competitor could go to the new website you've written for them, so that's an obvious one. But if you've done some kind of special, really great email campaign or something, you should check with your client first.
Okay, well, let's give the 5-minute warning here, or 5 more question warning. I'm hoping that we answered most of these. I did community outreach, relations for credit union, enjoyed the outreach, didn't like the banking. How do I pursue outreach? Seems so broad. Again, I would just drill down as much as you can as to think about, so what are the companies within outreach that you like? What are the services that they offer? Where can you help them be better, be more successful? You know, that's one funnel that you can do. And Pam, do we want to give everyone a homework assignment?
What do you have in mind?
Well, I think it's a good practice to actually have people write a practice niche exercise, you know, to actually go through this. Even if you're not sure, just know that you're not marrying this, but pick something that you're interested in and take this weekend and actually go through the steps of this webinar. Check out the other Inside AWAI webinar on niches. I know we've posted that. But really spend some time this weekend and immerse yourself in this and see where you come up with, you know, where you end up by Monday. I just am confident that something's going to click that you may not have thought of yet.
It's funny because some of the questions I'm getting are about, I've done this, and should I choose that, or should I go do something else I'm interested in? It's a very common theme, and I keep going back with start with what you know and like. Start with what you know and like. If you know your career and you like it, start there because it'll be easy for you. If you know a hobby or a category of a lifestyle that you love and you know well, start there. It's really that simple to just start somewhere and then, you know, adapt, like Katie said, tweak, adapt, you know, maybe shift down the road, or at least if you completely change, you've gone through the process of setting yourself up and you understand how that works, so you can replicate it really quickly the next time. But the answer almost comes out to be the same thing every time. If you know it and you like it, start there.
Try it. And again, you're not married. You're not signing any contracts. This is just a way to get these muscles going, to get your brain thinking in this way. And the beautiful thing about this business is you just don't know where the path is going to take you. And as long as you're open to it, as long as you're aware and thinking in these terms, and again, where is money exchanging hands? Where is selling happening? And just know that there's a home for copywriters there. And if that's somewhere you want to be, go forth and prosper. Okay. Phil, so this is going to be the last question. Phil's asking, if you have deep experience in 2 unrelated niches, can you build 2 websites focused on each one? I know your answer.
Favorite. You know how I'm going to answer that, Katie. All right, Phil, let's say you're standing on a dock and you have your dog on the foot.
No, don't Sophie's Choice him.
Don't. I know. It's not that bad. But let's say you have a little boat next to a dock and you're starting to get in the boat, but you might want to stay on the dock. You're not sure. And the boat starts moving away. Are you going to do a split and fall in the water, or are you going to pick one or the other? That makes me feel like what it's like to have 2 different niches and 2 different
that's
websites.
Much better. That's a nice analogy.
Yeah, I'm not I'm not going to choose a child. But I really feel like, why not get one going and get some traction going and then add the other? Because it's, running your own business is a full-time thing. It will be eventually. Even if you're trying to do it on the side, you have to market yourself and get clients and work as a writer and do the billing and all that good stuff. And it's very rewarding and fun, but just think it could be exhausting if you try to do it for 2 separate companies that you're running, 2 separate focuses. How can you, really follow and immerse yourself in one and also do it in the other? I mean, for me, I would never go to sleep, but it's up to you. But my recommendation is it's a lot harder to get traction while you're doing 2 at the same time, and they're very different.
Good. All right. With that, I think we're going to call it a day. For anybody that is joining us at boot camp, either live or virtually, we're looking forward to the big event, and get some sleep this weekend because you won't have much there. And for anybody that this was their first experience with us, I hope you'll join us again. And just know that there is a rich, deep archive of these webinars that really take these specific topics and walk you through them, available to you on the AWAI website. We do them because we understand that these questions need this type of attention, and we're happy to do it, and we love to do it, and we look forward to next month too. So I hope you'll join us again. If you haven't begun your copywriting career, if you don't have the accelerated program yet, that is the first thing you should do before you do anything else, before you worry about a niche, really before you do anything. Get those basic skills down, because the more you learn about this business, the more is going to be revealed, the more is going to show itself as what is the right path, what is the right niche, what is the right specialty. It's just going to happen that way. But until you have that foundation, it's all kind of murky and there's so many questions. All right, with that, I'm going to say goodbye, and thank you to Pam, and thank you to everybody for participating.
Yes, thanks for being here. It's always so much fun when I see how many questions there are, and you're all so excited. Yay, go for it.
Great group, yeah. Thanks so much, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.